Barbecue party time, did somebody say barbecue party time? This is really great. Hi, it's Jules from the Vegan Dollar, and welcome to a really quick pseudo batch cooking little extravaganza here. If you happen to tune into my other down and dirty batch cooking video, I said at the end that later in the week I was going to make barbecue tempeh, coleslaw, and cornbread. So first things first, I knew I wanted my oven on for my tempeh and my cornbread, so that's on preheated at 350. And the next thing that takes the longest is the tempeh, so I'm gonna start with that. Here's what I buy. It's only $2 from Trader Joe's. It's one of the cheapest tempehs around, so I highly recommend it. If you've never had tempeh, it's a fermented soybean patty. The reason I think that a lot of people don't like tempeh is because they're not sure what to do with it, or maybe they've prepared it wrong, as I know I have in the past. And I learned that what you need to do is steam it for about 10 or 15 minutes. Then put your marinade on and let it get all happy, and then bake it, or I suppose you could grill it too. I've never tried that. But it takes a few steps. So really think of it like if you're a meat eater or were a meat eater, the way that you would prep meat. You wouldn't just eat it right out of the container. You gotta do a couple things with it. So once you've done it once or twice, it gets really easy. And actually the hardest part is probably opening the darn package, because there's like 2 layers. First, you're just gonna wanna cut it in half into 2 squares. It's easier to steam it when it's whole and big like this. If you're used to steaming things, you might have a better method than me. But I'm just putting about 1 inch of water at the bottom of this medium saucepan. And in there, I have this little tray that came with my Instapot. But if you have a steamer basket, by all means, this is just what I have, and it fits right in there perfectly. And I'm just gonna put those 2 pieces of tempeh on there. And then I'm gonna simmer this with the lid on, like so, over on the oven here, for about 10 or 15 minutes. Once it gets fork tender, you'll know it's done. And then the great thing about that, when you're batch cooking, that can be going on for 10 or 15 minutes, and you can start prepping other stuff. Okay, now the next thing that I'm gonna prep, because it requires baking, is the cornbread. I scooped up this, again, Trader Joe's. Can you tell I love Trader Joe's? I think this was under $3. So all of the ingredients in this box are vegan. So as long as what I add to it is vegan, we've got vegan cornbread. So it calls for 1 egg, which for me will be a 1/4 cup of this just egg scramble. You could make a flax egg if you want, which would be 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 3 tablespoons of warm water mixed together. Then it's 3/4 cups of milk, and I'm gonna use this unsweetened soy milk from Trader Joe's. It's like $1.79, such a good deal. And then 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, which I happen to have. So just gonna mix this all up, pour it in an 8x8 pan, follow the directions here for 35 to 40 minutes. Yeah, so I really wanna get that going. While that tempeh is steaming on the stovetop and that cornbread is cooking in the oven, I'm gonna quickly toss together my coleslaw. Now you could buy a whole head of cabbage and some carrots and shred your own and get a lot more bang for your buck. But in a pinch, and because it's still really affordable, I think this is about $2, a bag of coleslaw mix, or really just calls it shredded green and red cabbage with orange carrots, but that's basically what coleslaw is. And what I like in my coleslaw is a generous helping of vegan mayonnaise. I'm almost out of my precious veganese, so I'm gonna resort to my backup Hellman's, or it's called Best Foods out here in Oregon, Best Foods brand. They sell this at Target. I've seen it at a bunch of places, and it's cheaper than the veganese. I don't think it's as good, but it's definitely still good, especially in something like this. At least a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise in here, and then I like red wine vinegar, just maybe a tablespoon, maybe 2. You could use apple cider vinegar too, that's really good. The red wine vinegar reminds me of, I'm from Jersey, like a Jersey Italian sub, and this whole thing with the shredded lettuce just brings me back to when my dad and I used to go get Italian subs, so I love that flavor. And what I didn't realize until recently was just a little pinch of celery seeds really gives it that diner coleslaw vibe. That's the secret ingredient, apparently. So really easy to just put a pinch in there, maybe 1/2 teaspoon. And then if you like it a little sweet, again, like a Jersey diner kind of thing, you can drizzle some agave on there. It mixes really nicely, and I would say maybe a teaspoon or 2. And then I had this cucumber, so I thinly sliced some of it. I think I'm gonna toss that in there because I think it'll be really nice, and I don't know how much longer this cucumber is gonna last. And if you don't like mayonnaise, we can't be friends, first of all, but second of all, you can always use any sort of oil too in here and do like oil and vinegar salad. You could probably even make like a cashew spread or something like that and mix that in here, or a tahini if you're wanting to go oil-free completely. I'm sure that would be delicious. And another thing I forgot to mention too, if you're steaming your tempeh on a really high heat, the water at the bottom may eventually evaporate, so just kind of keep an eye on it. You might have to add a little bit more water. It will last 2 or 3 days even after it's dressed, because the cabbage is hardy enough that it won't get soggy. I let that tempeh steam for about 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and I just kind of stuck a fork in until it started to give way. This is a very forgiving process because you're going to be marinating it while it's still warm, so even if it's still a little tough or extra soft, I think it'll be delicious no matter what once you marinate it and bake it. I'm going to cut them into strips. I'm gonna take those strips with a peeled and quartered onion, just because I had lots of onions, and you know me and onions, love it, love it, love it. I'm gonna put all of that in a 9 by 13 glass dish. You could use just about any baking dish. I like to use the glass dishes a lot because they all come with lids, and then I can go ahead and store everything in the same container. Booyah! I'm definitely gonna have leftover barbecue sauce, but I'll keep that in the fridge. You could put this in the fridge overnight, I'm sure. And then it's a great make-ahead thing, but I'm just gonna bake it right away. And it's already cooked. There's no harm in eating it right out of the package. It won't make you sick like meat would. So you really don't have to worry about making sure you cook it long enough. It's really to your taste. And while my tempeh and cornbread are finishing off, I'm just gonna clean the few dishes that I have. So by the time I'm ready to eat, the kitchen will be clean and we'll be good to go. I took the cornbread out after 35 minutes per the box instructions, and then the tempeh was 20 minutes on each side. Moment of truth. That was the perfect bite. You got the crunch and the creaminess of the coleslaw. You have got the tender yet heartiness and smokiness of the barbecue sauce, and the soft, delicious cake-like sweetness of the cornbread. This is a perfect barbecue day. Everything's gonna hold up really well in the fridge, so I'm gonna enjoy this for the next few days. What an easy batch cooking meal. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you like what you saw, please hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next delicious money-saving video. Getting ready.